I was stunned by such ignorance. It's like telling a Christian, you cannot talk about Easter. You can have your opinion as long as it agrees with mine. Now, that is not free speech. I'll explain what they've done and what they're doing and the direction which they're going, which is bad for the BBC and it's bad for the country.
Akaal Channel ਨੂੰ ਸਬਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਕਰੋ ਨਵੀਂ ਵੀਡੀਓਜ਼ ਦੀ ਨੋਟੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਬੈਲ ਆਈਕਨ ਨੂੰ ਕਲਿੱਕ ਕਰਨਾ ਨਾ ਭੁੱਲਣਾ
Pajali, Akaal Channel, ਅੱਜ Wimbledon ਪਹੁੰਚੇ Lord Singh ਦੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ the residence ਬੜੀ ਫਾਸਟ social media ਤੇ ਬੜੀ news break ਹੋਈ ਹੈ all over the world and a lot of people are very concerned and shocked ਕਿ ਜੋ news ਹੋਈ ਹੈ it says like even in the paper national paper ਜਿਹੜੇ UK ਉੱਤੇ ਵੀ front page ਤੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਾਫੀ serious ਲਿੱਤਾ ਜੋ ਹੋਇਆ ਹਾਸਤਾ Sikh pair quits today program on BBC Radio 4 after 35 years. You know 35 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਆਪਣੇ Sikh Lord ਨੂੰ program ਕਰਦੇ ਨੂੰ and ਦੂਸਰੀ ਗੱਲ Lord Singh has hit out at the BBC for prejudice and intolerance after quitting. Naturally ਜਦੋਂ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਨਾਲ 35 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਕੁਝ ਏਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਹਾਦਸਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ people act differently. ਕੋਈ ਬੰਦੇ calm ਕੋਈ collected ਹੁੰਦੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਵਰਗਾ maybe start throwing hands up in the air. Indarjit Singh, Baron of Wimbledon, CBE, British journalist, a broadcaster, a prominent British Asian active in Sikh and interfaith activities ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਰ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ a member of House of Lords born 17 September 1932 Rawalpindi Pakistan ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ complained about his treatment, but BBC director of radio for James Purnell rejected his complaint. Very shocking news again. Paji is so calm, so collective. 35 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ Sikhism ਦਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਬੜੀ ਇੱਕ respected Sikh member ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ society ਦੇ not known only in England which worldwide they 35 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ Sikhism ਦਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਬੜੀ ਇੱਕ respected Sikh member ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ society ਦੇ not known only in England which worldwide ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਜ਼ਾਇਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ ਮੈਂ ਭਾਜੀ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਜ਼ੁਬਾਨੀ ਦੱਸਣ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਹਾਦਸਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਚਾਹਾਂ because the Akaal Channel is the very first one today Lord Singh is giving an interview. Since I came to his residence, the phone has not stopped ringing from all over the world. You talk Canada, talk America, talk India. Har TVs ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ they very much interested. ਅੱਛਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਆਪਣੇ ਚੈਨਲ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬੈਕਅਪ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ. This is what shows ਕਿ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਬਗਾਨੇ ਰਹਿ ਗਏ BBC is I'm talking about BBC now. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਹਾਦਸਾ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਕੁਝ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ ਭਾਜੀ ਦੇ ਜ਼ੁਬਾਨੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣਾਂਗੇ. Lord Singh told us swagat kar in the show. I really appreciate giving us time.
Waheguru ji ka khalsa,
Waheguru ji ki fateh. Paji, it's very sad. It's shocked the whole community worldwide. I won't say the community, the wider community is even shocked. It's an understatement ke shock hai, lekin you know it's not. मैं जे तुमने सवाल पूछा Paji, how do you feel? Because अगर मैं express करूँगा, I'm full of bitterness and we probably saying things which I shouldn't say on air. How do you feel about it?
There's no bitterness, there's a disappointment that even at this time, with so much immigration and so many different religious talks and so on, there is such ignorance about Sikhism and there is such political correctness that it seems to have gone mad. I've tried for the best part of a year to try and get the BBC to see differently, but it hasn't been successful. The start point of the whole my concern was last November I was about to do a thought for the day. I'd written the script and the producer of the day had agreed the script and it was about the martyrdom of Guru Tegh Bahadur. And in it there was no criticism whatsoever of Islam. But later in the day, the senior producer said, "You can't go ahead with that script." And I was stunned by such ignorance. It's like telling a Christian, "You cannot talk about Easter," because it's this sort of parallel martyrdom. And I was so stunned, and I said, "Now, either I talk about Guru Tegh Bahadur's martyrdom, or you'll have an empty seat in the studio next morning." And she thought about it and said, "Well, yeah, all right, go ahead with it."
Really?
Very reluctantly. I went ahead with the talk. There was not a single complaint, but lots and lots of letters about and emails about what I'd said. Now, I was talking about the martyrdom of Guru Tegh Bahadur. I said, none of us can go that far. We're cowards compared to him. That he set the bar very high. But at least we should all strive to talk about intolerance shown to other people, speak up for other people, as is we need to do about events in the Middle East, everywhere. Keeping silent is not an option for a Sikh on these issues.
But of course, you know, this country is well known for the freedom of speech. Agar main freedom of speech karan, of course, within reasons. It's a history and it's the truth. Agar truth to kisi nu das diya, of course it's going to hurt people. They probably will not take it lighter. But that's the fact. We're going to tell our children what happened on those years, or the history of which. Otherwise, if we can't speak about the history, goes totally, you know, it dies down.
What happens is, if we don't look at history critically, if we don't learn from it, then we repeat the mistakes.
Exactly.
And we've been doing this over the centuries. The lesson of Guru Tegh Bahadur's martyrdom was that the forced persecution and conversion of other people to your faith doesn't speak highly of your faith to start with, but it is totally wrong. And Guru Tegh Bahadur, he was not a Hindu, but he stood up for the right of Hindus to worship in the manner of their choice. And it is extraordinary. He was talking about tolerance and respect for other people. And here's the BBC saying, "Oh, we can't have people talking about tolerance." What has happened is that over the years, the BBC have really lost the plot as far as what standards of broadcasting should be. There's so much censorship, it's almost unbelievable. It's not the first time that I've been asked to do that. Once before they wanted me to drop a talk on Guru Nanak, on the birthday of Guru Nanak, and talk about the forthcoming wedding of Kate and William, the heirs to the throne. And in the end, I said, "All right, I'll do it," but I managed to combine the two. But it's always that pressure, forget your things. And one of the excuses given in an inquiry afterwards was, "Well, he's talked about that before." It's like telling a Christian, "You've spoken about Christmas before or Easter before."
There's no need to talk again.
No need to go on year after year talking about it. It is so silly. But it's extraordinary. But there is something happening in this country. We used to talk about freedom of speech. It is being pressurized, constrained all the time. You can say what you want, providing we agree with it. Otherwise, you can't, which is totally wrong.
But is this ignorance or is it arrogance?
It's a mixture of both ignorance and arrogance. You'll be surprised at the ignorance of religion. Not only Sikhism, but of their own Christianity. They don't know. They don't know the first things. In the House of Lords, people should know. They're relatively well educated. And when I spoke on one of these Thought for the Day, someone came up to me and said, "I liked your quotation out of the Quran." It shows they don't know. They don't know the religion at all.
I must say, I've been here for a little while, play Lord Singh, the residence of which the phone now has stopped ringing from all over the world. And please believe me, on the Twitter, on the Facebook, there are a lot of Muslims actually didn't see anything wrong जो Lord Singh अपने thought of the day program च लेके आंदे ने. Lord Singh, then you have done this for 35 years. It's
Yes.
not a short time.
No.
You're as good as any senior producer or director with the BBC,
Yeah.
knowing the Ofcom regulations, what you can do, what you can't do.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think you need to be told, okay, this is not right, this is not wrong. You're well aware.
Yes.
But
yes.
now, my question is there a personality conflict or is there something more behind it?
And there is something more behind it. First of all, there is arrogance, which we spoke about. We know we are in charge. I'm queen. I'll do what I like. Now, that is wrong. It's an unwillingness to listen to another point of view. Sadly, that unwillingness to listen to another point of view is infiltrating into society. It's there in the Brexit debate everywhere. You can have your opinion as long as it agrees with mine. Now, that is not free speech. We are drifting away from free speech.
But you tell me one thing, you know, the decision, like you give the ultimatum, either I'm going to do the program or you're going to have an empty seat tomorrow.
Yeah.
And she didn't even was reluctant to answer back to you saying, okay, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Arrogance is, you can see that 100%. There's
Yeah.
no ignorance.
Yeah.
But if you're going to talk about the ignorance now, don't you think the senior person, whoever you're seeing at the BBC, should have consulted a member of the society to talk about it?
Yeah.
And because ignorance comes into this now.
Yes.
And there's who better person can explain to the senior person than Lord Singh by yourself?
Yeah, that is arrogance. It is very dangerous because there is a pressure that we've got different communities here. The best thing we can do is stop anyone talking about anything. Now, that does not help because many of our religions have important commonalities. We should emphasize those. There's so much. That's exactly what our gurus did. They talked about the commonalities in Islam, in Sikhism and so on. They had Hindu and Sikh friends. I have lots of Muslim friends. But what is happening now is stifle all debate. In the interfaith world, it's being said that we meet together now. It used to be quite good and helpful. Now they say, as long as we have tea and samosas and don't say anything relevant to each other, we're good people. That doesn't do anything.
I must say on Akaal Channel, I see good or bad, whatever, wherever it happens, we bring you on the spot to your doorstep worldwide. We made an effort to come down to Lord Singh's residence in Wimbledon. It's important. Important in the sense because agar kisi ordinary aadmi ne ida di cheez hoyi na, hundreds of cases go through. We never know these things have happened. A senior member of the society, Lord Singh, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਹਾਸਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ and ਸਾਡੀ not only Akaal Channel, worldwide, national TVs are interested to talk about it, why, where and how all this happened. We know these kind of still happen, a lot happen. When it happened to somebody like Lord Singh, we're going to be, obviously our responsibility to make people aware. You know, मैं नाल दी नाल गल कर रहा हूँ, देखो असी पहले इन्हां ते depend करदे सी for English channel दे ऊपर साडे program को half an hour आंदे सीगे. We don't need them anymore. We are here to use them and Jida Paji apna thought of the day karde talk about different subjects. He must have had lots and lots of subjects for the last 35 years. He must have had really serious subjects as well, sensitive ones as well. I don't know how long this issue been going on. It's not something one-off, is it?
This has been going on a year, this particular issue.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But before that, there are other incidents. So much pressure all the time that in Sikhism we talk about the one God of all humanity. I was told, and I've quoted about the God of the Shias and the Sunnis is all the one same God. That's a quotation from the Guru's writings. And I was told, better leave that out because it might offend Muslims. Now, this is where it's getting to absurd proportions. Now, there is also a fear of upsetting the Muslim community, which is totally irrational. It doesn't help Muslims. And what is happening there, they take it to such extreme proportions that don't upset. And that is really a fear of Islam rather than protecting Islam. What it does, it strengthens the hands of the extremists in Islam, that we can stop them saying anything. Now, then the bits of the Quran which refer to incidents of the past that wouldn't be acceptable today, they quote those in their sermons and whip up anger and resentment against the wider community. The real purpose of interfaith dialogue should be to explore things and put our different religions in the context of today's times. Because if something was good and reasonable 1,000 years ago, it doesn't mean to say it's good and reasonable today. We should keep to the ethical principles. And as for the history, which was quite barbarous in many of the Old Testament scripts and in the Quran, we can do without them. They don't help Islam. I've got so many Muslim friends. My first secretary and the best two secretaries have both been Muslims. Very good people, genuine people. And yet, this is creating divisions. They think they're protecting Islam. They are making Islam more feared than it should be.
But it is, you know, like you've seen Australia, you've seen China, you've seen America. They make very strict decisions, what's fair and what's not fair. And like, why is Britain so soft in these things, like with what happened with you today?
Yeah, Britain has got much worse. It used to be a relatively tolerant country, but now there is some sort of paranoia in the country. Best not to speak about anything because we might get offence. Now what is happening to Thought for the Day is that to avoid all that, all the contributors choose something that doesn't mean very much, something pious, look what we've said, and that's it. No complaints, no nothing, but no wisdom either. So that's not helpful.
You know, I personally, honestly, if you see my blood pressure seems to have gone so high. Pehla main shuru ch kya kiya tha, show that it's so difficult to handle situation like this. A person like me probably will throw arms in the air and shout and scream for what happened. Lord Singh is a very calm, collected person. His approach to such problems are very sensible, very matured manner. Honestly, per sada first band on Akaal Channel, this is very serious, it's very sensitive. It happens to lots and lots of people, but it happened to a very senior member of the Asian community, Sikh community da, and it should not be taken lightly. I'm sure that ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੀ ਦੁਨੀਆ 'ਚ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੋ. There's a lot of Twitter, Facebook ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ messages ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ. Would be nice while sitting, there's a call from India as well coming from one of the national televisions wanted this interview. But luckily, because we are local, we are in London, and Akaal Channel made an effort to visit him at his residence to bring to you as to what exactly happened. So, bala acha lagda hai. Lord Indarjit giving his statement. Paji, what's your future with, I don't know, it's too early to ask, with the BBC now?
See, the last communication from the BBC said that we'd very much like you to continue doing the talks, but the senior producer must have the last word. I said that I do not and cannot accept she has the full right to censor Sikh history. It is so absurd, I cannot accept that. And I said, there's no point in now continuing the dialogue because I've taken it into the court of public opinion. Let the public decide. But there are such dangers in this curbing of free speech, open discussion, because we learn nothing from the past. The history of humanity is one of where people all over the world have been extremely nasty. But if we don't talk about the nastiness, we'll never learn.
But the important thing here, you know, on one hand, you feel, okay, I don't know what's the right word, the reaction of BBC is not quite humanly, or you can take it lightly.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you must feel very proud, not only Sikh community worldwide, all the Asian community worldwide are behind you, 100% supporting you. You know, one side you feel so disheartened, the other side you must feel very encouraged. What would you
I'm amazed and overwhelmed by the support I've got, not only from the Sikhs and
Exactly.
Indians and others, but from local people. Everyone is talking about it. The Times saying that this is shabby treatment, and that in their editorial, and they should apologise. This is the Times saying it. From all corners of society I've got support, because there is this worry that we're getting ourselves into a 1984 situation where we're frightened to say anything in case it upsets anyone or has repercussions. That is dangerous.
Baji, you've done Thought of the Day for the last 35 years so sincerely, with loyalty and with respect, dignity. And, you know, it's again, I'll ask you again question, does that make you feel very let down and you feel down emotionally? Are you hurt?
I'm certainly hurt by the way I've been treated, but more hurt by the way the Sikh religion has been treated. Trying to censor a central teaching in Sikhism, the martyrdom of Guru Tegh Bahadur, you can't talk about that. That is the ultimate insult. I cannot accept that. That hurts. But as far as Thought for the Day goes, I've still got good friends. I've got platform in the House of Lords and others, other places. All right, if that's what they want, they do it. But the loss is the BBC's, because
Exactly.
they are pushing themselves in a corner. Because I have not only spoken about Sikhs, the very last talk which they tried to stop again was about the persecution of Christians, speaking out on behalf of Christians suffering in the Middle East and other places. Now, as a Sikh, that's my responsibility to speak out against intolerance anywhere. But a talk that was all about tolerance and respect and commemorating the martyrdom of Guru Tegh Bahadur, to try and censor that, it shows extreme ignorance, arrogance, and it is time that the BBC took a serious look at this lot.
But it's so, to see, you've been doing for this 35 years on the BBC Radio 4, and it's not only the Sikh community listen to that radio, it's the wider community worldwide.
Yes.
Sari.
Yes.
So we're not only teaching the history to our children, but it's for the wider community to know what the Sikhs have done in the past. It's a history
It is.
which should be talked about, should be discussed about,
Yeah.
should be known about.
Yes, we do, and many people appreciated when I went to speak in Estonia, the British ambassador introduced me as the man who brought Guru Nanak to the breakfast tables of Britain. So it is appreciated in the wider society, but it is sad that there is this pressure to conform all the time.
You know, I've known Lord Indarjit for many, many years. He's been so kind. He's a Akaal Channel supporter. Whenever we need him, he's always there. Like today, we're the very first one to visit him at his residence in Wimbledon, in London, to give us an interview. I'm really honored and privileged, honestly. I've got a lot of respect for this gentleman. Paji, I don't know, what would you expect from BBC now? What's your...
Well, interestingly, the BBC have invited me to the Today program tomorrow, and they want to ask why is it I'm upset. Well, I'll explain what they've done and what they're doing and the direction which they're going, which is bad for the BBC and it's bad for the country. I will explain all that. I think they're invited me because everyone else is talking about it, and if they're silent, it looks silly. So they've invited me, but they're going to hear everything that I'm concerned about.
But you talk on such intellectual, very high. I'm trying to bring my question
Sorry.
to the same level. I find it very
Sorry.
difficult to talk to you like this. Is apology good enough?
I think they need to change. I don't care if there isn't an apology to me. They need to change their way of thinking. Originally, when I started doing Thought for the Day, the idea was, in this 3 minutes, to provide an ethical, moral input into current news. So if you've got something happening, give a religious perspective on how we should behave. And that's gone by the board. That in helping society to come to terms with events or to interpret events, that's gone by the board.
But lastly, we're running out of time. We've got about less than a minute. There are a lot of people out there, I'm not talking on the Sikh community, all the Asian community, who feel quite annoyed and bitter and they're aggressive. What advice would you give them? Because obviously they're your supporters. They've, not only your supporters, they're supporters of the teaching that we should know that.
Exactly. That I don't want them to be aggressive in any way. They should support Sikh teachings. And Sikhs should understand that our teachings have the answer to many of the problems that we face today. We shouldn't be afraid of voicing them, because other people are delighted when we talk about Sikhism and Sikh teachings. So we should certainly talk about them, discuss them with our friends, and do everything to promote this greater tolerance, understanding and respect for other people.
But in the end, I thank you so much on myself, on behalf of Akaal Channel team, that you gave us opportunity to come and see you, talk to you. To see one-to-one interview, it felt so nice, and it's coming straight from your mouth. People worldwide will be able to know, who have watched Akaal Channel, exactly ki hoya siga. Akaal Channel, myself, Sada Misha, maksad hunda ki asi thode paas program leke aaye, when and where it happens, kite bhi England de vich hove, सारी टीम उत्थे पहुंच के थोड़े पास उसे टाइम ते फ्रेश न्यूज़ लैके आंदे हैं. बड़ा उदास, बड़ा दुख होया जो न्यूज़ हुई है, पर असी थोनू इस प्रोग्राम दे नाल अपडेट करते रहांगे. आई फील सैड, एटलीस्ट असी वॉइस पहुंचा रहे थोड़े तक. प्लीज़ इसी तरह तुसी अकाल चैनल देखते रहो, अपनी फीडबैक ट्विटर ते फेसबुक ते दिंदे रहो. वी नीड टू सपोर्ट दिस प्रोजेक्ट. वाहिगुरू का खालसा, वाहिगुरू की फतेह.
बोले सोने हाल सा